Welcome back. This segment of the Sports Source is brought to you by Safety Systems. Right now, Safety Systems, like about every business in America, they're looking for people. Now, Safety Systems is a heck of a company. I've known these guys for 20 years. They're looking to hire experienced technicians to install, service, security systems, camera, fire alarm systems, and more. Great company vehicles for their techs. Long history of trusted family-owned East Tennessee business right here. They get so much business, they need you to be a part of their team. And again, this is a good team. Call VFL JJ Surlis. You've seen him on my show over the years. Call VFL JJ Surlis this week. Call the folks at Safety Systems. Talk to them about the technicians openings that they have at the moment. Safety Systems can't encourage you enough to give them a shout. All right, back with Vince and Bob, and I want to quickly talk about the VFLs at the NFL Combine. Vince, good news on Hendon Hooker's medical report. Let's start right there.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is being able to check guys medically. And Hendon Hooker having positive analysis from the medical, I think is great. He'll be good for the start of the year. I think teams are getting an opportunity to fall in love with him and seeing what a team leader he is, all the intangibles he brings to the table, and then the medical is not going to be a significant drawback for him. That's good.
He seemed ready to answer questions about throwing you we got an extra minute here, so I'm throwing you a little something extra here.
Okay.
He seemed like he was waiting for the question about that system and it being one read and you're only looking at one side of the field, et cetera. He seemed like he was ready to answer that one.
Absolutely, because that is one of the things that is, you were talking about the Heupel type of quarterbacks.
Yeah, we're going to look at that next segment.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. And so that is the thing that he wants to disprove, that is an issue. He does have responsibilities. And he's like, it's not my fault that my first read is getting open.
Yeah.
But he does have a lot to process. I think that is important to clarify and remind NFL teams about.
Bob, all the talk about Hendon Hooker right now, you got some teams that really, really like him in terms of he's an asset that's a little bit distressed because he's going to drop due to the injury a little bit. Where do you think he's good? If you're looking at rounds right now, and all it takes is one team to fall in love with you, but general overview, what rounds do you think people should be considering him?
I'm going to go, I think he'll go in the third, even with the injury. And I think if he hadn't had the injury, he could have even snuck into the bottom of the second a little bit. Going into the season, I would have said fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
But I think now he could be third or fourth. But I don't think he'll get past the fourth because people are falling in love with him. And that makes, if you got two guys in love with you, the other one's sitting there going, okay, I'm going to take him in the third. Oh, we might go ahead and jump on him a little bit earlier in the third or trade up. But I think from what I have read, a decently solid third-round pick for a guy that's got a bum knee right now.
Daniel Jeremiah for NFL Network, he said he would not have a problem if someone took him at the bottom of the first round, even with the injury question. Now, I've seen more second and third round, but he likes him a lot, and I think a lot of NFL teams, it's got to be the right system.
The bad thing that in terms of some of the perception, listening to some of the national radio guys, when you hear them talk about Hendon Hooker, you inevitably come back to, but boy, I watched him against Georgia. He didn't look good against Georgia. It hurt him that one of his two most watched games of the year was against Georgia, and it wasn't a good game for Tennessee. But I think scouts are going to be able to look at a body of work as opposed to one game. All right. Vince, Jalin Hyatt called it quits with some hamstring tightness yesterday during the drills, but his 40 times were still pretty good. Thoughts overall on Jalin Hyatt and what's going to happen with him with the pro day coming up at UT, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, officially ran a 4.4, which he had higher expectations. You had heard when he was working out that he ran faster than that. If he runs at UT's pro day, he'll probably be faster than that also. It was still very good, but I think he wanted more than that to show he has elite speed. He had a couple of drops. He did participate in maybe 2/3 of those wide receiver drills, but he did shut it down at the end. And he had some drops. He had some really impressive passes. A little bit of a mixed bag for him. I don't think it torches him. There's so many teams that need receivers, like 20 teams that have a primary need for wide receivers. So I still think he's fine for the first round.
Bob, he made the comment that he knows how to run routes. I mean, I was in the SEC. I know how to run routes. Don't worry about routes. It's the same thing that the quarterbacks are having to say about it's that veer and shoot system. They don't have a full route tree at Tennessee, whereas you're going to have to teach them new routes. Are NFL scouts going to look at him and say, ooh, I'm worried about his ability to run routes? Or are they going to look at it and say, I can't coach speed? I'm drafting speed, and we'll teach him the routes.
I'm going to go with going to draft him because of the speed, but I think the route thing should be a bigger question. Because if you look at some of the receivers now that are very good in the NFL, and I'll take the one off my team, Justin Jefferson, what makes him really, really elite is his precise route running. They say he's almost absolutely perfect. So I think that's a bigger thing. I wouldn't just blow it off. And I also do think that the routes in Tennessee's system are not as precise as what you see in some other systems. But I do think his speed and the fact that he had such a great year and was so important will probably overcome that.
All right, Vince, Darnell Wright goes today with the offensive lineman, but Cedric Tillman, Byron Young, Jeremy Banks all went yesterday. Who helped themselves the most?
I think it was Byron Young.
Yes.
I expected that to be the case because of his athleticism.
Vince.
So Byron Young was top 3 in almost all of the categories, whether it was broad jump, vertical, 40 time. He really showed his athleticism and explosiveness. I do think, even though his production was sort of up and down at Tennessee, I do think that that's such a need in the NFL that he helped himself. He was probably maybe 5th on the list of Tennessee guys and where they might get drafted. But I think there's a chance he may have improved that with the combine.
Your take.
I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get drafted in the 2nd round, just simply because of what Vince said. They need guys like that, and sometimes they overlook the production because of
The upside.
The upside of what you get with the speed and what he did in this drill and that drill. It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't jump up into the 2nd round, which before the season would have shocked me to say he would have been that high.
Cedric Tillman with a 4.56 40. Not great, not that surprising.
No, I think as long as it's not an alert. If it was worse than 4.5, it's like a 4.6, then people would be like, oh, see, I told you he wasn't a fast guy. He didn't have top end speed. 4.5 is fine. That's faster than Devontae Adams and a number of other elite receivers in the NFL. Not running a bad time was a positive for him.
All right, very good. Hey, Vince, good luck calling the Vols game today. Good luck to them. You'll be fine. You don't need the luck. Good luck to them.
John will carry me.
And we'll see you here down the road.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
John.
buddy. All right, when we come back, that thing I've been teasing all day, we're going to do that. We're going to talk about quarterbacks and receivers who have come out of this Heupel-style system. Art Briles ran it at Baylor. What have the quarterbacks done in the NFL? What have the receivers done in the NFL? Is it easier a transition in one position or the other? Does that impact UT recruiting moving forward? It's a lot to cover. Let's cover it next. Come on back on the Sports Source.